Welcome to this preview show ahead of tomorrow night's boxing from the Utilita Arena, Sheffield. We've got some World Championship boxing in action and a great undercard. We're just going to talk about some of the main fight cards tomorrow night. We'll start off Lisa Whiteside, so Commonwealth gold medalist. She's back in action. She returned to the ring after nearly 3 years out in July. Obviously, we're seeing her for the first time on a Probellum card, but how good is it, the fact that she's back and in action?
I'm really happy she's back. I like Lisa, she's a very, very good fighter. Commonwealth Games gold medalist, newish mum, and it's amazing to see someone like that coming back after having a baby and coming back, getting fantastic shape and being ready to fight at a top level. I think she's genuinely a world-class talent and has got genuine ambitions of winning a world title, which I think she can do.
She's facing Ava Cantos, who's never been stopped. She's fought Ellie Scottney, she's fought some good names, especially from this country. Lisa said she doesn't really study her opponents very much, doesn't know much about her, but I think she just sees this as another step closer to that world title shot.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. Sometimes, watching your opponents, you can sort of create problems for yourself. The more you watch and the more you think, you start reading into only seeing the good rather than the bad, and vice versa. So the fact that she's not studying it, it's not new, to be honest with you. I genuinely believe her when she's saying that, but the coach, I'm sure, will study and come up with a good game plan. As you say, she's tough, she's durable, she's never been stopped, but 2-minute rounds, it's more difficult to stop someone, so whether Lisa will be looking for the stoppage or not is another thing, but she just needs to win and look well, and then the path's already laid out for her, I believe. And as I said before, I think she's nailed on to win a world title.
Well, yeah, you say it's hard to, in the 2-minute rounds to get the stoppage, but people were thinking she might come back a bit rusty in July, and she dropped the goal within the first 20 seconds. So she certainly didn't look like she had any nerves, any ring rust. So that bodes well for her.
It does, yeah, it does bode well. At the end of the day, when you're coming back, it's the level will rise of the opponent as you get further up the ladder, as the level is rising now. So, no disrespect to the stoppage win last time, but it's gonna get tougher. She's gonna find it harder as she goes on, and the 2-minute rounds, in my opinion, is a hindrance to getting stoppages, getting wider points victories. It's so difficult to score when we're sitting there commentating and analysing. It's so difficult to score. Never mind what the judges might be feeling, but I'm excited to see her back again, Lisa Whiteside. I think and hope she will get to stoppage, but as I say, I think she's destined to be a world champion.
Well, moving on to another decorated amateur in Herbert Conceição, Olympic gold medalist. We all saw what happened at the Olympics, the dramatic KO win in the last round. He's in action, and we saw him at the press conference, we saw him at the open workout. He looks confident, he's an absolute superstar, and he's going to be exciting to watch in his pro career.
Yep, he looks like a star in the making, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him. We don't give gold medals away in the Olympics, obviously, and he did amazing winning his in Tokyo, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I liked him yesterday at the press conference, trying to speak a bit more English, and it will endear to the fans. We saw what it did for Canelo Alvarez when he started to speak more English, and automatically he gained a lot more fans because you can relate to him more without having to listen to a translator. And the fact that he's even just trying that so far, which I believe he'll have to because he's going to be a star, is very good to see.
And he's entering the middleweight division. He's 2-0 as a pro at the moment, but in the middleweight division, it's an exciting, stacked division, and he's going to be probably quite soon one of the names talked about.
Yeah, he will, and he should be. When you win a gold medal in the Olympics and you turn professional, you're on a fast track straight away, and people are going to demand results fast, and they're going to expect success to come quickly. He's still got a lot of learning to do, as most young amateurs or any even elite amateurs that turn professional. You still have to adapt to the pro game. It's a different sport. It sounds daft and it sounds like a contradiction, but amateur boxing, professional boxing are totally different sports, although they're very similar. You still have to learn and adapt to how the pro game is, and I believe he will do. I believe he'll take to it like a duck to water. And
it's exciting that we've got him over here fighting in the UK as well, and on a Probellum show. Are you expecting him to sort of make a statement tomorrow night?
I'm not sure about statement. He's just, again, the same with Lisa Whiteside, as I mentioned before. He just has to win and look well. And if you're winning, you're looking well, you're creating a fan base, and that then translates into putting bums on seats when we have the shows, and when you're topping the bill, you create a fan base. Everyone wants to be the way Ricky Hatton was, and you gain this loyal following that follow you all around the world and fill out arenas. And part and parcel of doing that is starting early on with exciting wins and exciting fights and looking good. So if he can look good tomorrow, and as I say, you know, make it appealing to the fans that watch him, they'll want to buy a ticket next time he fights. And it's a long but hopefully successful road ahead for him.
Well, we'll move on to one of the British title final eliminator fights between Thomas Assomba and Marcel Braithwaite. We think it's for that. Today at the weigh-in, Marcel didn't make weight. You probably know a little bit more about the sort of process now. He has till tomorrow to make the weight, is that right?
Not essentially, no. So he's failed the weight. So if he wins,
he won't
be eligible to fight for the British title. He won't be mandatory. Marcel Braithwaite, that is. But because he's failed weight, that then gives Thomas Assomba and his team, his coach Grant Smith, an option to say, well, you failed the weight, so you've got to be X amount tomorrow. You can't put too much weight on a hydration, in rehydration. It's basically like a bit of a hydration clause, which people may have heard of. So tomorrow you can't weigh any more than 8 pounds over the weight limit when you're rehydrated, purely for the safety of Thomas Assomba, because if he hasn't made the weight, even though it's only 0.8 of a pound, it's still something that they feel he could have done. He could have gone away and lost that 0.8 of a pound. The fact that Marcel Braithwaite hasn't even tried to take that weight off tells me that he was at his very, very lowest limit, and he probably knew he couldn't have got it off. Mentally, it can be heartbreaking for you when you've tried everything you can to get to a weight limit. It's just not coming off. If it's not coming off, it's not coming off. And that's the tough part with boxing. People just sit there and think, oh, it's easy, it's only a pound. If you haven't got it to lose, you haven't got it to lose. If it's not there at the last minute, it's not going to come off. Everyone can have an excuse for it, but that's just how it is. So the good part about it, and the most important part about it, is we have a fight, and I believe it's a very, very good fight. If Thomas Assomba wins, he will fight for the British title next. If Marcel Braithwaite gets the win, he won't be, but he'll have the win. So he can move on to bigger and better things. But I think this just adds to the tension in the fight and adds to the drama, what we're going to see, and it is a very good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, because all week it's been a bit drama-fueled. The fact that Marcel didn't come to the press conference, and then Sonny Edwards, who is Thomas's manager, had quite a lot to say about the fact that Marcel wasn't there. Then we weren't even sure at one point that Marcel was going to come to the weigh-in today. He wasn't there initially. So it is building the fight, and the fight is going ahead. So it just gives it a little bit more juice to it.
Yeah, it's just drama, isn't it? And we need that in boxing, I suppose. You're never going to get away from that. But the fact that he didn't turn up to the press conference, as you say, has riled Assomba and his team, especially Sonny Edwards. I could hear Sonny shouting all kinds today when he weighed in a little bit over. And you know, when you bone dry, making weight, or you're struggling, it's the last thing you want is a coach or a manager jumping in and throwing their 2 pence in when you've already trying to deal with this fighter, and then you've got his team or his family or his friends around you. So, as you say, it just all adds a bit more spice to the mix, doesn't it? And I think it'll erupt tomorrow, and we'll see the best fight because of it.
Well, we'll move on to the co-main event for tomorrow night. Jack Bateson against Shabaz Masoud. It's for a lot. It's another final eliminator for the British title. It's for the WBA Intercontinental, and it's for the Ali Tazim Trophy. There's a lot on the line for this fight, and on paper, a real 50-50 fight. And we saw it getting a little bit spicy yesterday in the presser.
Yeah, we did. Both nice kids as well, from every interaction I've had
I was
with them.
surprised that it kicked off a little bit.
But just because they're nice to everyone else doesn't mean they're going to be nice to their opponents, especially when, you know, it's technically a local derby. I like both of them. I think I've followed Jack Bateson since he turned professional. Very good amateur, very, very good amateur. Nice, respectful lad. But as is Shabaz Masoud, every time I've met him and got to know him through being involved with Probellum, so respectful, good coach, good team around him, talented fighter. And for me, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most tomorrow. No disrespect to Sonny Edwards or any of the other card, this is the main fight that I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Do you think that this fight is probably going to be fight of the night?
It's got the possibility to, and it probably makes it a bit more fitting that the Ali Tazim Trophy's on the line for it. But yeah, I think this one can steal the show. I really do, you know, and I think it's got a distance fight written all over it as well, which will make both fighters work hard. It'll be a high-paced fight. Again, only my opinion. Could be completely wrong, and it could be a first-round blow. But I think it's gonna go a long way. I think it's gonna go probably all the way to the distance, and it'll be all action, non-stop, and a very, very entertaining fight.
Do you see it going any way in particular? Do you sort of have an idea of who you think might win? Because in the press conference and in sort of this fight week, Shabaz has been quite vocal in saying that he thinks Jack has a lot of strengths, but he's got a lot of weaknesses. So he thinks he could win comfortably. What's your view on that?
I'm sure Jack Bateson will be thinking the same, and Jack and his team, his dad and everyone else around him will probably be thinking that. But for me, I'm really going to enjoy that as a boxing fan, and the fact that I'm getting to sit literally touching the ring, commentating on it also, and I will really enjoy that one tomorrow. If I had to put my house on one of them, I'd probably side with Bateson, being honest with you, from what I've seen. But it's probably because I've just seen a lot more of them than I did Shabaz. But again, just a very, very entertaining fight, and you know, two lovely lads, but they're going to really get on with each other tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, I think. Right, we'll move on to the main event for tomorrow night. Sonny Edwards defending his IBF World Flyweight title against Felix Alvarado, who we know was world champion. He's stepping up a weight, so he was world champion at light flyweight. This could be Sonny's toughest test so far. It
could, and we were talking about it today, the fact that Sonny's just being presented with his ring for 3 defences, and we were wondering whether they've tempted fate because we thought it'd be 3 successful defences, and this one hasn't finished yet. It's not successful just yet. Massive puncher. I believe there was a bit of a debate today over the gloves in the rules meeting over what gloves he was going to wear. I think he wanted to wear the Everlast MX, which are puncher's gloves, and there's not much in them at all, horsehair. And that would certainly favour Alvarado, but I think they've agreed on wearing a different model of Everlast glove. But all those little things which come into play when you realise, you think someone's not bothered about, I don't care what they wear, but you're not wearing them. Because you're a big puncher. We know he's a massive puncher. We know Sonny Edwards has got great defences and elusive skills and sees things a little bit quicker than the average fighter, and unbelievably confidence, supreme confidence, hasn't he? So he's his nickname's spot on, Showtime. It's what he's all about, and I think he will put a show on tomorrow, but he has to stay switched on from bell to bell for 3 minutes of every round. He can't get tagged, he can't get caught. It doesn't matter how good you think your chin is, you don't want to be taking shots like that at this level, at top world level, against a world level, world-class puncher like Alvarado. Well,
just to give a sort of stat on that, Alvarado has more knockouts, 33 knockouts on his record, than Sonny's had fights. So that just goes to show how powerful a puncher he is.
And
especially at that weight. It's not very often you see that.
No, it's not. Especially at that weight, you're totally right. When people say like, oh, he's boxed no one, Alvarado hasn't, but you could see a knockout artist or a record of a fighter who's had 20 knockouts and he's boxed no one, but it's still difficult to knock and the average person on the street out, never mind a boxer. So to get 33 knockouts against good opponents and good level opponents, it's not something that you should take lightly. And as I said, the key to victory tomorrow for Sonny Edwards is to stay switched on from bell to bell, 3 minutes of every round. He cannot switch off for 1 second. If he does and he gets caught, it could be curtains, it could be over. So he's got to stay switched on, stay composed, and fingers crossed for Sonny Edwards, he gets the win and his 3rd successful defence.
Well, we're obviously here in Sheffield, which is his sort of adopted home city. He's been here since most of his adult life. There's a lot of support for the undercard fighters as well, but it's just good to be back in Sheffield. There's a lot of up-and-coming fighters from here, and the city is known to be great for boxing. It had a little bit of a dip, now it's going again.
Yeah, it had a dip, you're right, and again, I'm probably testing my own memory here, but we had the great days of Naz and the Ingles and Ryan Rhodes and everyone from this region when Sheffield was booming for boxing, but then it went on a bit of a lull and a bit quiet, and then we only had sort of Kelbrook. But then it's slowly but surely, as you say, starting to pick back up, and the fact that Sonny Edwards is based here now and lives here, they can claim him as one of their own, and rightly so, because he lives here. But there is a real resurgence in Sheffield now of good class boxing, and if we can get big shows back here and big events back here like we used to in the early, mid and late 90s and so on, then long may it continue. I'm really happy for them, and it's about time that other cities got a bit of a look in, as opposed to the likes of Manchester, Liverpool. They've been on top of it for a while without sounding big-headed about Liverpool.
Yeah, it should be a good night. That is tomorrow night. A reminder that you can watch it live and free on probellum.com.